The latest tech.
I'm Alexa. I can answer your questions.
Interviews.
And we are evolving, and we are seeing an amazing opportunity that is happening.
Accessibility.
Accessibility is one of our core values. It's even a part of our mission statement.
This is DoubleTap TV.
Welcome to DoubleTap TV. Thank you guys so much for being with us each and every single week and getting involved by sending email to feedback@AMI.CA. Thank you for following us on social media. Of course, if you're not, what are you waiting for? At DoubleTap Canada, using the hashtag, which is #DoubleTap. I am MARC. With me each and every single week is Stephen Scott. Stephen, this week we're going to be talking about Braille, but more specifically, the challenges of learning Braille at a more adult age. Now, this is something that you've been doing for the past couple of years, is it not?
Yeah. I will be honest, I've been drifting on and off it a little bit, but I will say grade 1 I'm not so bad with, which does mean I read slower than most, but grade 2 means that you get the contractions, which means a single cell turns into a word, so you can understand how very quickly you can speed up your reading. Grade 1 is single letters and punctuation and numbers. But yeah, I have to say I really enjoy learning Braille, and just being able to read in silence is lovely.
You know, we all, with traditional language, Stephen, if you're brought up speaking a language, whatever that mother tongue might be as a child, you pick it up really, really quick. I'm guessing when it comes to Braille, because this is a tactile language, it's not really the same thing, because there's no auditory element here. It's not like you're mimicking something that's going on. But is it easier to learn Braille at a younger age?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, if you're a kid and you're learning this at school, and I hope children at school who are blind and partially sighted are learning Braille at school, then yes, you're going to pick it up so much quicker. It's like everything else in life, right? As a kid, you learn everything so much quicker. It's why, a baby nowadays can pick up an iPad and figure it out in seconds, while, I'm still figuring out where the on button is. It really is about age. Of course, it is brilliant, and it does allow for the brain to soak up so much more. When you're older, yeah, it does come with its challenges.
Okay, well, this week we're going to get a whole different perspective on it, because we're going to be welcoming 3 guests, I said 3, to talk about a company called Hadley. Now, Stephen, Hadley is a company that was founded back in 1920 by an educator who lost his sight in his later years, later in life. So he created this company, and the mission of the company is to offer practical help and support free of charge for anybody with a visual impairment. And part of that mission is to teach Braille to those who want to later in life. Now, the service is not only available in the U.S., even though the people that we're going to be talking to are in the U.S., but it's pretty much based, anywhere in the world, because you can do anything remotely these days, especially here in Canada. So let's welcome our first guest. Doug Walker is the co-director of research and development for Hadley. He's based in Nashville, Tennessee. Doug, welcome to the show. Tell us, before we dive into really anything else, about this new exciting way for adults to learn Braille.
Hadley was born on Braille, and we actually started, in 1920 teaching Braille over 100 years ago. And we did Braille through the mail, which, then was really cutting edge at the time. And, but, things change. And the world changes, and we put a tremendous amount of research into, how we were delivering Braille and what we wanted from Braille. And we hyper-focused on our target market, which our target market it's people new to vision loss. And we took all of our research that we did on that, along with researching all sorts of existing teaching models. And we asked ourselves one big question, and that was, what do people new to vision loss want today? And we come up with this Braille for everyday use.
Okay, indeed, Doug. Doug, hang on for 1 second, because I want to add your colleague and our next guest to the conversation. Kim Walker is the co-director of research and development at Hadley. Kim, thank you for being with us as well this week. Let me ask you about something Doug just said, and that is, why the change in the way that Braille is currently taught or currently learned?
Well, what we were seeing is we were having such high dropout rates, and that's never good. So we started to survey and do a little research on, why. And we heard things like, well, it was overwhelming. And we know Braille can be overwhelming. A lot of people said, I didn't know what to do with the materials. There were so many materials. And then I felt like I was alone. I was very afraid to start to learn Braille. And a lot said, I really just, I don't want to read books. I just want to be able to read room numbers, the elevator, maybe make some labels. So we started with that. We really started with our learners and what we were hearing about what they didn't want and what they did want. And then, of course, Hadley is steeped in, best practices for teaching. So, of course, we always have that in mind when we develop any workshop. So that's how we looked at it and said, we need a change. We need to start from scratch and deliver to our learners what they're asking for.
Yeah, and another problem that we were having was actually with the audio delivery of it. That was a huge reason for some of the dropout rates that we were seeing. We were using the National Library Service for the Blind's player and the cartridges there. And so, again, remember that these are people that are new to vision loss that are coming to us, And so what we found is that they want to learn Braille, and then boom, they're suddenly having to learn this new player and learn to listen and all that stuff, which they still have to do with this new one. But they were just overwhelmed by the amount of information coming at them. And me, I'm a Braille reader, and I learned later in life. And for me, there's the emotional aspect of it is huge for the learners. And this is true for me. I mean, two of the hardest things, I guess, to embrace as somebody that gets to the point where they need Braille is the use of the cane was very difficult for me, but also admitting that maybe it's time to need some Braille for labeling things. And, I think it's you're admitting at that point that, hey, I'm blind, and that can be a tough thing. So the emotional part of it was part of the dropout rates too. And they were throwing so much material at them at one time, that we really had to address that.
Okay, guys, I think we need to clarify here and kind of rewind a little bit. I know I described the company earlier when I introduced you guys, but in your own words, how would you guys describe Hadley as a company?
Hadley is a service that works with anyone with a vision loss. Teaching skills, daily living skills. We have brief workshops that teach you how to use your oven, how to cut, how to wash your clothes, as well as Braille. Many things that would help someone who has a vision loss compensate for that vision loss. Really just doing those everyday things, just learning to do those a different way. So, and as Doug said, we've been around for 100 years. We started with Braille, but we offer many workshops on things that someone with low vision or no vision could use.
We are talking all about learning Braille as an adult here on Double Tap TV. Doug and Kim are here from Hadley, but I also want to bring on our third guest, who's an actual new learner to Braille with Hadley Systems. So stick around. This is Double Tap TV. We'll be right back with our third guest. Stick around.
For more great Double Tap TV content, visit AMI.CA/DoubleTap. This is Double Tap TV.
We are back on Double Tap TV. Thank you for being with us each and every single week. Prior to the break, we introduced you to two of our guests this week, Doug Walker and Kim Walker, the co-directors of research and development at Hadley. We're going to bring them back here in just a second, but before we do that, I think it's important to get the opposite perspective. Now, I am Mark AFLALO, Stephen Scott by my side. Stephen, on this new Braille learning course, we have someone specifically who's going through the course. Her name is Karen Bright, and she's one of Hadley's students currently taking the course. She's joining us now from Wilmington, North Carolina. Karen, thank you for joining us this week. Tell us how you first discovered Hadley.
It was huge. I mean, just when I called that number and someone answered the phone and said, I think his name was Steve, and he said, hello. And I was like, is this Hadley? What is this place? And then it meant someone was listening, someone was there, and I don't know, gave me hope, and that there was something I would be able to do on my own without my husband having to do it for me, or without having to call a friend or my mother or my dad or my sister, so that was huge, because I lost my eyesight 4 years ago, suddenly and accidentally. It was a brain injury, and it wasn't supposed to happen. I never thought this would be my life. And then to have that change is so shocking. And then to go from living completely independently and then not being able to make a phone call easily, to have Hadley, just have someone answer the phone was just meant, okay, I can do this. I can move forward. I'll be able to do other things. And now, I don't know, it's like things don't stand in my way anymore. It's not my first thought every day. It just kind of is.
You know, Karen, hearing your story, it's so reminiscent of mine. I know all about this from my own experience of, having low vision. And then, in my words, losing my sight again in 2017 when my sight got worse. It's how I tend to frame it, because I did feel like I was losing sight again. I was having all that experience that I didn't have as a child because I was young at the time, right? But the point is, now I'm starting to experience all those feelings of grief that come along with losing sight. And, trying to get back into the world, be a person, a functional person again. But at some point, I think you have to accept your sight loss. Do you think you've reached that point of acceptance yourself?
Yeah, I definitely think the word acceptance is good, and acceptance is two different things, because always I'm healing, my brain is healing different, my vision is fuzzy, and every day people will say, are you seeing better? And that question can be just awful sometimes. I'm like, stop asking me that. Or I love answering. It just depends on my mood that day. But then I don't want to say acceptance is giving up on that there will ever be something that will help the technology move forward, or the medical people move forward in occipital lobe problems. But acceptance in, okay, this is how I live, and it's not so bad. It's fun. I can do fun things still.
Okay, so talk us through this process then. So what happens when you sign up? Do they send you out materials? Do they send you out everything you need? How does it work?
Yes, and Hadley is very strict on this. They only send ABC, one book, and you can choose to watch the videos on the website, or you can call the number and they will do the lessons over the phone. So I use my iPad and watch the videos, and it's so simple with the voiceover. It's a 20-page book, ABC. Each page is one video, which works with voiceover. You just swipe next. So, and you have satisfaction at each page, A, learn the A. Next page, how many A's are on this page? Next page, feel the difference between A and a full Braille cell, which is, 6 dots of the dice. And they go through that in the very first lesson.
Okay, guys, let's take a short break. We're having a lot of fun here on Double Tap TV, learning all about this new method of learning Braille from Hadley. We've got more to come. I am Mark AFLALO with Stephen Scott by my side. Our guests are standing by, and they'll all be back after we take a quick break. Stick around.
For more great Double Tap TV content, visit AMI.CA/DoubleTap. This is Double Tap TV.
We are back on Double Tap TV. Thank you guys for being with us, talking all about learning Braille at an adult age. If you guys want to get involved, again, our email address is feedback@AMI.CA. Follow us on social media at Double Tap Canada with the hashtag, which is AskDoubleTap. Mark AFLALO and Stephen Scott with you each and every single week. And we're welcoming back Doug and Kim from the Hadley Institute, and Karen Bright, one of their students of the course, who's taking it right now. Now, Karen, I got a question for you. What would you say has been the most productive thing you've done with Braille since you started to learn it?
That's a good question. I am only on letter M, so I am still learning, and I am just now at the point of, at the end of each book, they give you stickers with the letters labeled in them, so you can use those labels. And you can put those labels with the Braille on them on things. And they do tell you and give you examples. So like they did CM for cold medicine, and you can put that on something, you know, or they say DB for dog biscuits, or which, of course, this can be your choice. My husband's name is Daryl Bright. I can tap one of those on him if I forget who he is.
So you think he's dog biscuits?
And I can call him dog biscuits. That's right. So those stickers are very handy, but just using those labels. And I haven't done this, but I'm excited to. In this last book, at the end of the video, it just reminded me or told me that Hadley has in their living skills section, I think there's a workshop on labeling and good ways to label your stuff. So,
Karen, would you say that you recommend this to other blind adults thinking about learning Braille?
oh my gosh, yes. I'm having fun doing it. That was another thing I found out losing my eyesight was, wow, your time and things you do during the day change. And learning Braille has been a fun thing to do. And yes, I would recommend it for sure. And I want to start doing it to label things in the house. And then I would like to start playing games, but I'm not good enough yet to do that.
You will be. I promise.
I will be. I will be.
And this is what sets ours, I guess, apart from other places out there that teach Braille, is ours is truly developed for the adult learner, where most of these programs were set up, based off of kids, the way kids learn. And so this is not literacy based, it's actually more translation based.
Hearing Karen, say all of these things as a developer, it's wonderful because we designed that way. It was very purposeful. We knew Braille. We knew how, we know how to teach Braille, but it's very emotional. It needs to be that personal contact. We wanted it to feel like, and we said this the entire time, as if someone's sitting beside of you and you're working through this and you have a question and that person is with you and you can ask them. Even though we can't be with you, it was designed very intentionally to feel that way and to have those small pieces to say, hey, you've learned 3 letters. Now look what you can do just with these 3 letters. You can label your aspirins. And, I couldn't come up with something with B. I said a jar of beets, and, they made fun of me. It's like, not everyone likes beets. It's like, it's the superfood, people. But, at the end of those small chunks, we made them what we call bite-sized pieces of learning. And then also, as Karen said, she's almost walking through our framework of how we were designing this. You're successful after each line. You have instant feedback. You read a line, you count, you name, instantly it tells you at the end of that page, you've been very successful. You get to the end of the booklet, you're very successful. But what we knew as an adult learner, they want it when they want it. They want to learn, when it's relevant to them.
Guys, it's been a real pleasure having you on to tell us all about the course, which you can find out more right now by visiting hadley.edu. Right, Doug?
You can go to the Hadley website, hadley.edu, and sign up right there. And yep, anywhere that you are, this Braille's available for you.
Thanks, Doug. Thank you, Kim. And also thank you to Karen as well for sharing your story. Really appreciate it, guys.
Yes, thank you for having me, and it's great to meet you guys.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Karen, for giving us insight to how it feels to be on the other side of the table using this Braille. We love it. We love Braille. Everyone at Hadley loves Braille, so we're very excited.
That is Doug and Kim Walker, co-directors of research and development over at Hadley, and Karen Bright, a student of Hadley herself. Stephen, lots to take in this week. Learning Braille at that age. Look what I just did. Thankfully, they're gone. Learning Braille at an adult age. I mean, learning anything, having the patience to sit through something like that. Kudos and hats off to you and Karen, because that's a lot. That's a lot to take on.
It is, but I think I love the way Hadley do this, and this is the thing, it's about learning how Braille can be useful to you. I think that the old method was to really teach you how to read and read at speed. But the truth is, a lot of people in their older age, and I say older, I mean, we're not old people, right? But we're older. We're certainly not kids. Let's put it that way. We don't necessarily have the need or the want to sit and read War and Peace on a Sunday afternoon. As great as I'm sure that book is, do you know what? I'll just get it in audio. But for labeling around the home, for purposes and uses around the home, and for all kinds of things, Braille can be so useful. And that's what I love about this course, and I love the way that they are now teaching Braille to adults and focusing that, which is a fairly new concept, fairly new way of doing it. And I hope it's really successful for them, as I imagine it will be.
Well, do check out hadley.edu if you guys at home have tried it out, or maybe you want to. Do reach out to us, feedback at AMI.CA by email. Of course, on social media, it's at DoubleTap Canada with that hashtag, which is AskDoubleTap. On behalf of all our guests and Stephen Scott, I am Mark AFLALO. Thank you guys for being with us. We'll chat with you again next week here on DoubleTap TV.
Hosted by Mark AFLALO and Stephen Scott. Editing Jordan Steves and Mark AFLALO. Voiceover Anna Vocino. Integrated Described Video Specialist Ron Rickford. Coordinating Producer Jennifer Johnson. Director Production Kara Nye. Director Programming Brian Perdue. VP Content Development and Programming John Melville. President and CEO David Errington. Copyright 2022 Accessible Media Inc.